Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Just as I have begun each press conference, I want to thank this very strong, very consistent coalition that has allowed us to communicate early and often, basically making sure that our residents had support in every way, and so I want to thank you. The Pearl River is falling much faster than expected. Northeast Jackson is already seeing water recede. The good news is that the water levels came in lower than projected. Water is only, by our calculation at this point, has only entered inside one home. And so we're grateful for that blessing. And we thank the Lord, most of all, for sparing so many of our residents. Several streets are still impassable. Westbrook, Rollingwood, Harrow, Julienne, and Nichols streets. Those streets are still impassable, and we ask that residents still avoid driving down those streets. This is imperative because when vehicles ride down the streets that are considered still impassable, it creates wakes. What that means is it pushes water into homes that would otherwise not have water enter into them. And so in order to spare property, in order to minimize the damage that residents are going to have to contend with, we ask that you do not drive down the streets that I mentioned or drive down any street that is impassable. Please, I made that comment. Shelters will remain open until Wednesday evening. For those that are in need, those who may only have limited accommodations, and still are unable to return to their homes, I want to make you aware that the shelters will still be open until Wednesday evening. We are communicating with JPS about flood impacts. 2 schools were virtual today. McLeod and Casey Elementary had virtual options today. And so I have additional updates with respect to our water system that I will provide at the conclusion of our press conference.
Good afternoon, I'm John Sigmund. I'm the manager of the reservoir. We'll give you an update on where it stands. Today's news is a little better than yesterday's. Although yesterday the reservoir did crest early in the morning, and so that means that the flows coming into the reservoir were at their peak and were going down. This morning we were able to reduce the flows out of the reservoir by 10,000 cubic feet per second. That's a lot of volume. If you're not familiar with it, that's a lot of volume. By 9:30, we reduced the flows another 5,000. And sometime shortly, maybe right now, we're going to reduce the flow another 5,000. That allowed the water to start receding. The reservoir is still higher than it should be, but by keeping our discharge up yesterday, we were able to get a half a foot off of the reservoir and get back into a semi-safe zone. We still got some more to go before we feel real comfortable, but we will continue to reduce the outflows throughout the day and the night. That will allow the floodplain to empty. As they've said in Northeast Jackson, they're starting to see some relief there. The Highway 80 gauge has not quite responded yet, but it will before nightfall, I predict. There's still going to be a few days, a week or so of water in the floodplain. When it gets out of all the different streets, I'm not sure, but it's on the way now. So we've got a better situation now than we did. There's still people who are inconvenienced. There's still people who are suffering because of it. I understand that, and we wish them well.
I'm Marty Pope, the service hydrologist with the National Weather Service in Jackson. Like John was saying, the really good thing about this is we're seeing a lot of dropping of the water levels above the reservoir right now. They're coming down fairly quickly, so that is helping us out tremendously in that area. So what we're seeing, like I said this morning, I heard from somebody, I was talking to the guy at the Weather Channel this morning, Justin, and he was telling me that there were people screaming how joyfulness about when they were watching the water start to fall down just after John had cut back those gates a little bit there. So there was just a really good effort. I don't want you guys to know that there's a big effort between the Corps, the Weather Service, The United States Geological Survey, those folks have been working their rears off trying to get measurements for our river forecasting models, and then doing that with the Pearl River Valley to give them the information they need to control the reservoir. We just give them the information, but there's been a lot of people in this process, and and then all the people involved in here, all the emergency management people just have been great to work with here. So, but what we're looking at right now downstream, like I said, we're seeing everything start to fall below the reservoir now at a pretty good pace. It's already crested at Lakeland Drive there. I was talking to somebody at LaFleur's Bluff Park. They're not seeing much there because a lot of that water's still coming out of Eubanks Creek there. It's going to take a while for that water to flow. We did get a crest this morning of like 35, 37 at the Jackson Gauge. It's down just a little bit, but we are getting fluctuations in the river still. So we won't get a really good fall at Jackson until later today. I mean, probably into tonight, really. But our river forecasting unit actually has projected that the river will probably fall through the 33-foot level, which is where we start getting more relief, and that'll be around Wednesday. And it could easily fall below as early as Thursday to the 28-foot level. That's maybe a little optimistic because sometimes it does take a while for the water to get out here. But we could see at least by that time, but it could be a little bit further out. So it's really a very positive thing. We're starting to see a lot of this fall. So hope this will continue and we can keep away from any rainfall. Rainfall projections right now are very scattered. We've got a front dropping down and they are going to be fairly scattered over the next few days. But we're going to have to look at things, I guess, late in the weekend and see how some of the things down in the tropics are developing. So thank you.
We're going to call on somebody else. Steve McCraney, I'm with MEMA. Just want to say thanks to this team. The emergency responders, fire department, police department, sheriff's department, emergency managers, the city, everybody, American Red Cross, we have all been on the same sheet of music. And it goes back to our training that we've done and to get this group all doing one thing. And we were very consistent in that. So you've heard about where the levels are going, which is absolutely wonderful. What's the state going to be doing? So as of right now, we've got about 126,000 sandbags that we have put out for those that need them. 2 pumps are online. I've got a 3rd one on the way to be able to provide. And the 2 shelters, along with the Red Cross, being able to manage those and ensure that those people have the things that they need when they show up at that shelter. We're not ready for you to go back in yet, though. What do you need to do when the waters recede? So continue to listen to your local officials. They're going to know better than anybody, than me at the state, to what roads are open, when you can get in there. Your crews still have to get in your public works. They've got to look at the culvert systems. They've got to make sure that those can sustain those heavier vehicles and other things that are on the road. So stay off the flooded roads. We're asking you to just be real patient over the next couple of days and do that. And don't return until you get authorization from your local officials. That means they have inspected it, they have given it a stamp of approval, and they're ready to go. So when you're going back into your home, you need to be aware of chemicals that are going to be leaking if you did get a flooded home and things of that nature. And also wildlife. Wildlife will find a dry place when everything else is wet. So when you start to move back into your residence and you're checking things out and you've been gone for a little while, be sure that you take heed there. Still report any damage that you might see on our at msema.org, the self-report tool. We still want to capture those things. We still want to know where the water went. Just like Marty was talking about, a lot of part of what we're doing is surveying exactly where did the water line get to. I mean, this helps us predict, this helps us get better in our response that we can do for the state. If electricity was cut off, be careful about it when it's cut back on all your HVAC systems and everything else. So it's almost like a cold start on your vehicle, let it warm up, let things get settled in. But the whole partnership of the group that's standing up here today, we're all giving you the same guidance and good guidance on getting back into that residence. And just take a little bit of patience and we'll get you back there. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Joey Perkins, Hinds County Emergency Management. As Director McCraney said, We would like for you to report any damages to your residence or business in crisis track at msema.org. You can select Hinds County, put the information in there. Pictures are always good if you attach those, and we'll follow up with that information to get it in. Rosemary Road in the Terry area is still closed. Water across that road, so be aware of that if you're in that area. And stay hydrated today if you're working outside. It's going to be a little hot out there. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. I'm James Davis, Chief of Police. First, I want to thank God that He spared us at this time, and I want to thank the mayor and all the partners and coalition because 2020 was a very difficult year. This was a trial run for us, and with what we brought in this time, we was able to be very successful and provide the needs to that community that was affected in that high water area. So I want to thank all the partners for helping us to provide services, and thank the mayor for putting a warning out here to citizens. And I want to thank the citizens for just taking heed to those warnings and leaving their home. Right now we have manpower on the grounds in those particular areas where we can provide services where citizens may need the police. In the areas that we have that are blocked, we have police officers just in those areas just to make sure that our citizens are safe. So I believe this was a success. We're not out of the weeds yet, but I believe with prayer and continue working together as a coalition, we can be successful. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tamika Smith-Jewett, and I'm the Executive Director of the Southwest Mississippi Chapter. As of today, we have 2 shelters open, one in Jackson at the Jackson Police Academy, St. Charles Street, and the second location is in Madison at Madison United Methodist Church on Post Oak Road. Overnight, we had 1 person stay at each shelter. Today, we still have residents going to the shelter, so that's great news that people know where to go to. So continue to keep spreading the word for people that may be in need. Also, I want to mention, as the mayor said, we are planning to close the shelters on Wednesday around 6 o'clock. So that's a tentative plan, but if there's a need for us to extend our sheltering, we will do that. But right now, that is a plan, around 6 o'clock this Wednesday. And if you know anyone who needs help, they can always call 1-800-RED CROSS for assistance. So that number is available 24/7 if you see a need in your community as well. So continue to use that number. I also want to thank our volunteers and partners who have already been helping us out, going into communities. We were in the Canton area the other day, as Sunday morning, delivering meals there. So thank you to everyone who has showed up. I want to share that we do have some training opportunities coming up at the end of the week that I'm very excited about. So if anyone out there wants to support the Red Cross, you can be on the lookout for training dates that will be released in areas of damage assessment, spiritual care, and sheltering. Again, damage assessment, spiritual care, and sheltering, so spread the word for volunteers in that area. I also want to thank the dozens of volunteers who responded to the call just this week. Last night we had about 12 people at our chapter office who took shelter training, so I'm excited about that. So again, I always say that your Red Cross is as strong as you make it. This is not a Jackson metro area. Southwest Chapter has 21 counties. Ideally, we would like to have volunteers in every county, because those Jackson area volunteers, if something happens in our southern counties, those are the ones that are going to travel to the area. So we'll take whatever time you can give, but again, it takes a team effort. So if you want to volunteer with us, go to redcross.org and get registered. Again, go to our social media sites. We're always posting information. Thank you so much, and let's continue to work together.
Good afternoon. I'm Crete Calhoun, President of the Board of Supervisors, and we want to thank everybody for working together the way you have. And because we work together, we missed the bullet. And we want to really thank the reservoir for the way they controlled it. They've learned more than they did in 2020, So we were able to be spared much more because of the way they control that. So I just want to again thank everybody. And one other issue I want to bring up for the future is the One Lake project. That One Lake project needs to be worked on immediately. We need to be spared this kind of situation, and One Lake project will do that. So we're pushing. We want everybody to start working on that so that Northeast Jackson and the rest of Jackson and down the river will be spared.
Thank you again. I can't say enough about this coalition, this team. It has given me personally peace and comfort to know that we had such well-intentioned individuals working in every area to fill the gaps. I've heard the same from our residents, and so I just want to communicate that. And even beyond the team that you see before you, I want to thank the many volunteers. I know that Working Together Jackson helped knock on doors. I want to thank New Jerusalem Church, so many individuals that I could go on and on again speaking to the effort that they gave. Always want to thank those individuals that work with the City of Jackson on a daily basis, from our fire department to our police department, our public works, and our constituent services division. I thank you all, anyone who played a role in this. I really want to express my gratitude. And speaking of the One Lake project, I want to make clear to the residents, I spoke to residents just this weekend as I toured some of the impacted areas, and they wanted to be assured that there was work ongoing in order to cause or create relief and mitigation. And I assured them that actually, as we're looking at the One Lake project, it is further along than it has been ever before. It is actually in the hands of the Army Corps. And so we're looking for their comments and their response to that to move forward. And we will continue to keep our eyes on that. As I have learned in this position, as one crisis may be averted, another one rears its head. And so where we have been challenged as it relates to these flood levels or the water levels is at our water treatment facility. It is no secret to any of us that we have a very fragile water treatment facility. And O.B. Curtis has received, it receives its water from the reservoir. And because of the river water that is coming into the plant, we have been unable to change, we have to change the way we treat the water. And so there is a higher level, or the chemical composition of the water that is coming in. They have to be able to figure out how they contend with that additional water that is coming in. And so that has led to the reduction of water being put out into the system, which consequently reduces the tank levels and affects system-wide, the water pressure in the homes of our residents. And so this is a citywide challenge that they are working diligently to recover from. I spoke with Mr. Sigmund, and as he shared with you, they are steadily reducing the output from the reservoir. I believe that will give some level of relief to those that are working at the water treatment facility. But this is an outage that could potentially last for a few days. Anytime our tank levels are depleted, it takes significant work to recover, significant work to bring those levels back to a point where it is sufficient water pressure for all of our residents. We are in talks with emergency responders in the state to address this issue, and we'll have update for you coming very soon. But that is where we are challenged. That is what is leading to the water pressure issues system-wide and across the city. And they are working diligently to find out how they can treat what is coming in additionally, so that not only we push it out to you, but it is not in a hazardous form, okay? With that, if you have any questions, we're ready to receive them. I had to turn the page because I was told last time that I didn't go to the last page of my notes. Yes.
Mayor, how many people have you estimated are displaced currently by these floodwaters?
I don't have an exact number for you on that. I think we can probably tally that going forward as we review damage and see the homes that were actually evacuated. We know that a number of residents did take heed to the warning, and they got out. The number that we have of impacted homes in terms of homes that water actually got into right now is one home. So I can't state enough how much of a blessing that is, right? We thank the Lord, we thank the Creator for getting us to this point where we didn't see more expansive damage across our city. I'm going to go tiers, so yes.
Do you have any updates on whether or not residents have utilized the JTRAN services during these last few days?
Those are details that I look forward to revealing. We will still be present in front of you over the coming days and giving you information. I don't know, I haven't been able to segregate, the number of residents who used it, due to the flood versus our normal ridership. And so we would have to figure out how we tally that up and provide you that information. But I do thank JTRAN for standing at the ready, being prepared to assist those residents. There are some things that we did in preparation that residents certainly took advantage of. I would imagine that there are some things that we, provided as support to our residents that they didn't need to take advantage of. Nonetheless, we want to be over-prepared instead of under-prepared. Yes, sir.
You talked a little bit about the progress with the One Lake project. Could you talk a little bit more about your thoughts and sort of its potential impact on future flood events?
Yeah, well, I am eagerly anticipating the review of the Army Corps. And one of the reasons is because I'm not an engineer. So I can't stand before you and state with, full authority or confidence what it will do outside of their review. I know that I have been a part of the levee board through several stages in the process of review. And to date, I think that it's in the proper hands. And I'm encouraged as the prospects of what it can do. But we're looking for their input. And I think that, in terms of the need, in terms of having, a critical response and an immediate response, this event plus 2020, 79 and 83, all reveal that this is something that we have to address as soon as possible. And so the urgency is certainly, I think, well communicated, and we'll see if this is the exact project that corrects that. To the extent that there are ancillary benefits to the One Lake project, I have been, consistent. While I know that Jackson residents, because we make up the majority of the residential composition of that footprint that would support it from a tax base, I want to make certain that we have equitable return on our investment. I'm going to, you let that tear get past you, so I'm going to come back to you. All right.
So you mentioned the One Lake project. Yesterday, did you and Senator Wicker discuss any other possible pieces of legislation or solutions that can help mitigate future flooding?
Senator Wicker was so kind and gracious as to, want to, review the affected areas. And so I had an opportunity to ride with him and look at the affected areas. I know that he has been intently looking at the One Lake project from its, since the inception of the idea. And so all indications from Senator Wicker is that he's supportive of it and that he wants to see it go forward. And so I anticipate that remains his position that has been communicated to me. Yes, sir.
My question is, what is the flooding and what flooding impact has it had on the sewer system? What impact has it had on the wastewater treatment plants? And what are the city's plans to mitigate those?
As was mentioned earlier by Director McCraney, we have to go out and review how it is impacted. Anytime water enters our system, that always has an adverse impact on our sewer system. We have a system that is so fragile that even in dry weather we experience trauma. So it is certainly expected that we have had some adverse effect to that. But in terms of giving you a proper calculation of what this event led to, I'm unprepared to give that to you at this time. All right. Yes, sir. We're coming down now, and then we'll go back up.
Talking about the One Lake project, would obviously be far away, but even if the Corps approved it today, how long would it be before something could be done to help these folks in Northeast Jackson?
Well, it's going to require a significant investment and construction of a solution to take place. This isn't an easy solution. This isn't one that we could simply clear a few ditches and maybe see, better flow. And so your statement that it's a long way away, I think is correct. I think it is further along than ever before, without question. But after you get approval, then you have to get to the question of funding. And so that is, obviously a big component of the equation. And so I'm unprepared to tell you exactly how long. I can tell you that every month I sit in a meeting where we talk about the levee, we talk about the impacts, we talk about where that project is positioned right now. And just to get it to the point where the Corps is looking at it means that huge, giant leaps have taken place. Yes, sir.
Yes, so you mentioned to us you've had a, quote, fully outlined plan as far as solutions go with the ongoing water crisis. Is the flooding going to curtail that, maybe the publication of that, or is there anything you can tell us about that plan?
What I will share with you is that you will see before you in short order, possibly, I don't want to commit, but possibly as soon as next week, a full-scale committee of individuals that are working towards the execution and the production of that plan. We just had a call today about, some of the members of that committee, not only to ensure that we have reliability and sustainability in our water system, but that we have confidence from our constituents, from our residents, that this is something that does not have to be an interference in their quality of life each and every week or every year or every month, as we have seen. And so we look forward to bringing that to you. We're certainly not talking about a month away. This will be happening very soon, that we'll produce that. To the extent that, weather events like this will be a part of the plan, it's certainly something that we have considered in terms of weatherization at the plant, but the specific and precise details about like flooding, I'll leave to the experts to deliver. But we do know this. We know that we have a greater annual precipitation that takes place. We know that we, have experienced colder winters, a la the 2 Februaries and what we experienced there. And it appears hotter summers. Mississippi's always hot, but it appears hotter summers. And even that has had impact in terms of humidity and how we treat the water and the chemicals we use. All of that plays a role. And so it's a delicate dance that we have to display. I will share with you that part and parcel of that plan that will be delivered is that we are looking for a third-party independent operations and maintenance contract. And that helps us in terms of the inability to find the water operators that we have. So you have the double whammy of short staff and how to augment that, and a water treatment facility where there are multiple points of failure. And so that further illuminates your short staffing, right? And the short staffing can't be corrected overnight. It's just not a matter of hiring people. We have 10 people right now that are being trained to be water operators, the certified water operators. If you're out of college with a science degree, it takes 2 years. If you're without a college degree, it takes 6 years. And so that takes, a little work to make happen. We've had people come in through the process and leave in the midst of the process. And so, it's difficult trying to catch up to that. What we want to ensure in a plan is a plan not only for the short term and the long term, that has a capital improvement component to it that looks at the years and the age of certain systems and when they're set to retire and how we replace them. And also looks at the human capital side of things to make certain that we have a proper estimate of when people may retire and how we have a constant, flow of workers that come through. All right. Yes, sir. Last question.
Thank you. One final question is, I know when the heavy rain started, the city stopped doing the testing for turbidity, stopped doing the sampling. Do you know when sampling, or if it has started back, or when it might start back?
So obviously the rain and the flooding issues took immediate priority. Now the recent challenge that has dropped our water pressure certainly pauses any ability to test today. And so, our immediate priority is restore the water pressure, which could be a few days away, to be honest. Because anytime you have our tanks bottom out, what I liken it to is if you were drinking out of a styrofoam cup, someone puts a hole in the bottom of it, you're steady trying to fill it while it's steady running out at the bottom. It's more difficult to make it reach the top. And so, our cup, is drained, and it's, while we're trying to fill it, we know that people will still be trying to consume it. And so that takes a significant effort to refill those tanks. And so that's where we'll be. I know it's going to amount to frustration, anger amongst our residents. I want them to know that through this event, through any event, we understand and we are compassionate about that concern, right? We're working diligently. Whether we have a boil water notice, whether we have low water pressure, this is something that we work on every single day. And so we're going to find a solution to it. It is the result of an accumulation of decades of deferred maintenance and accumulated challenges. And I am confident that we're going to fix it. It does not look pretty right now because we're dealing with it, but we're going to fix it. Just as we were able to do significant, overlay on a number of areas, we're going to fix this. All right? Thank you very much.